What happened?
No way.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Seriously?
Say it again.
Say it again. Yeah, say it again.
Alright, so, okay, everyone breathes. Let the site breathe. You ain't first, you're last.
Is it the site or is it, because my web just locked, my internet just locked up.
No, it's the site.
For Michael Parsons?
The site.
Demo open right now. Go take a look.
And about halfway through the car ride, I go, Sutton, I want to start a website covering 32 teams. I'm going to think about it. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it, but I think I want to do it just to get out of this Dolphins maze. And so I think it was about a week later where I texted him and 𝗏𝗢𝗏𝗧𝗨𝗕𝗘 at the time, and I said to them, I'm starting a website covering all 32 teams. Either you're with me or you're not, but I'm starting this website. And
it's such a Matt Cannata thing to say.
and Sutton,
we're going to war. Either you're with me or you're not.
And Sutton immediately texted me. He goes, "I'm in. Let's do this." And I'm like, "Let's do this." And then it was just trying to find a name, and I happened to come across Pro Football Network by pure chance. And I typed it in, and it was available because someone had let it expire.
Fire sale on GoDaddy,
someone had
right?
let it expire, and so it was up for auction, and I got it for like $35, $40. And then I got the domain name, and I'm like, "All right, boys, we're launching January 1st, 2019. That's our first day on the internet."
The first capital investment into Pro Football Network was $40.
$40. We started with $40.
That to me is fascinating on a number of levels. But so we've made it this far. Cannata decides we want to cover all 32 teams. Text you and Josh 𝗏𝗢𝗏𝗏𝗏, who at the time was one of the original co-founders. At the time, he was one of the owners here at Pro Football Network. Sutton says he's in. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 says he's in. January 1st, 2019, we're gonna launch Pro Football Network.
And so we're like, okay, we got to get people to write for us. And so we picked.
So
January
me and him
1st.
wrote every article.
We picked January 1st because we wanted to do Black Monday, where everyone gets fired, right? And so we said we'll probably get some good traffic just because we're a Dolphins fan and Adam Gase might be getting fired and they might be doing this new search and everything else. We're like, let's do it. We're doing it. And so then we put out a call out on Twitter, like, anyone,
I remember that.
anyone who wants to write for us, DM us. And we took anybody.
Anybody.
And I mean anybody.
I don't like the emphasis you're putting on anybody.
including Brett Yarris. And I think I look back on the DM sometimes when we like promote employees to full-timers or hit a milestone just to see where we were as a company. And I look back at your DM one day, a few months ago, and I think it was like, "Hey, I'm Brett Yarris. I've been a big fan of the Dolphins for years and following you for such a long time, and I think I could really help the site with an in-depth data analysis. I did things with, another Dolphins site and podcast and so forth." And I'm like, I just saw I want to help, and I said, "Okay, come on." And I had no idea who you were, obviously, and that's how you started. And at first, I mean, I don't even know. It was like we had writers, we thought we had podcasters, then we said no podcasts, we're just gonna do writers. And I think you were actually a writer. You were a writer. I have no idea why you were a writer, because you can't even write or spell. I mean, you could spell, but you can't write.
I mean,
you could convey your thoughts very well.
First of all, ridiculously harsh for no reason. Sitting right here.
That was very mean of me, I'm sorry.
I saw your call out on Twitter. I had just done you
had been following me for years, right?
I mean, years is a little strong. I had been following you loosely.
Turn notifications on.
And so I see the call out on Twitter, and I had just done a Juwan James and Laramie Tunsil breakdown of their pass protection techniques.
I remember that.
That was my first real dive into using behavior science to understand why tackles respond in ways they do to pass rushers. This whole breakdown on Twitter. It got picked up by a couple different Dolphins people, got promoted, and I was like, oh, these guys are starting a website. Maybe I can use this as a way to offer something new and unique, because no one was doing what I was doing at the time. And you guys were like, yeah, sure. Didn't even interview me.
No.
I didn't even think you knew what I looked like.
I had no idea what you looked like.
And yes.
I met you in a hotel without even ever talking to you.
That's right. We're gonna get there.
We're gonna get there, because I have a story about meeting him too. But you do bring up a good point, because I said to Sutton and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, when we started the site, I'm like, we are not gonna be a site that's a news aggregate. We're not gonna just take stories that breaks and write little stories about them. Like, we're gonna have original columns, opinions, analysis, and go beyond that first layer. So we didn't know it at the time, but you were like the perfect fit for what we were looking for.
Well, and if you remember, my biggest problem with the landscape of media, sports media at the time. It's still what my biggest problem with it is today, which is it is a collection of hot takes and sensationalism and using outrage and anger to drive engagement. We see it at the top networks, we see it all over the case. If you name some of the most popular people, I don't mean positive or negative, just popularity in general, you're looking at people who foment those types of things.
Right.
And I just was sick of it as a fan and as someone who was working in football. I know the players hate it, I know the coaches hate it, the people who are on the ground in the NFL hate it because they're getting their mentions becoming a dumpster fire too, because the fans are getting dumbed down because their sources for information are not giving them actual real information. They're just giving them anger.
Miami for
No Miami.
that's what people think.
Is this worthy of anything out there right now?
Yes, as we get closer to the draft.
Okay.
I got two things.
Fire it, and I'll have.
Yeah, but I talked to people. The Dolphins are being very close to the. They said they don't think so because keep all that between us. Hang on. Okay, we can't do anything yet.
Hold on. Sit on it.
Yeah, don't go with anything until right before the draft. I'll let you know. Hey, between you and I, somebody told me it doesn't look like Sewell to Miami. No. Very surprising.
I jumped on as a writer, and then of course the first thing I do is write an article called Breaking Down the Mythology of Tom Brady.
Which is a very good article, actually. Very good article.
I will say, I write quickly.
You do.
All right. However, we didn't have editors at the time.
No editors. We were running stuff through Grammarly and just calling it a day.
We had zero editors. So when you say like, I can't write, I can't
There was a
spell.
time, actually, I will tell you this, since it was like me and Sutton only editing, right? Literally like every article. I think 3 weeks in, I said to him, is this worth it? And I'm like, I am ready to walk away if you are, because this is just crazy.
3 weeks in, you're ready
3
to
weeks
call.
in.
You're ready to
Because it was me and him editing. We were trying to pump out like 3-4 articles a day. And it was just crazy.
We were on Wix at
We
the
were on
time
Wix,
also.
Yeah, which was slow. And Sutton said, absolutely not. We said we're doing this. We need to give it a real shot and do it. And I said, all right, let's do it. Let's keep going.
Owners.
That's when we switched to editors and directors, and that's when we made you our content director. Because we said, okay, if we're gonna keep going, we need to organize this better. And so we made you the content director, AKA the hall monitor, where you had to direct traffic.
I really planted my flag in this company.
In our Twitter threads, because we had no idea what Slack was. We had no idea what we were doing. And that's when you started getting things on track. You said, you're writing about this, you're writing about that, and so forth. And it worked out really well.
So what I'm doing right now is I am pretty much Tony's right-hand man right now. So we have scouting profiles on all of these players, specifically in the top 300, and we are putting all of this information into a running record type of article where we have trade information, we have the scouting profiles associated with each prospect, and then some analysis from Tony right here. He'll send that over to me. I will conglomerate all those things and publish it to the site, and it's a very quick, frenzied process, especially here on day 2, and we'll only continue to get faster as we go into round 3 and into day 3. There will be barely any time to breathe, so please, NFL teams, don't trade too much. That takes a little extra formatting time for me.
I thought from the beginning that PFN had a chance to not just be another fan blog, another fan site. And we had an opportunity to provide some real information, like I just said. And I remember when you guys asked me to be the content director, I was like, all right, this is how we do it. I'm gonna take my experience as a business owner for the behavior movement, and let's get some organization, let's get some standards, let's get some protocols, let's get some whatever. That's why I got the nickname the hall monitor, because people would start to divert and go off track and add some chaos to what was trying to be an orderly system. And I was like, nope, get out of here. Now, 2 years in, I'm the one providing the chaos and breaking protocols and doing whatever.
Yes,
but that's
protocols.
That's a story for another day.
But that hall monitor thing was, well, it's a content director. So 3 weeks in, I'd tell Sutton this, and we said, okay, well, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna reorganize. But you did such a good job at being the content director that kind of led to something else. I forget what it was, another bump in the company.
To be clear, I was not an owner of the company.
You were not an owner of the company this time. But we said, we're going to treat this like a legit company. I don't care if we're getting 50 people a day on the site, which we were. And we were excited that we got 500 people a week and then 700 a week. And like, we're growing so fast. And we had 1,000 in January. And then, but one thing led to another. And we said, okay, this Brett guy is doing a pretty damn good job. And then I think at nearly at the same time you had reached out and you said, you think you'd offer so much more to the company than just being like a content director or a writer or whatever it was that you needed to do for us. And so I told Sutton.
Well, and I don't think we knew at the time what type of relationships you had
right.
in NFL circles
I had
at this point.
a few ideas because he had told me and then through other people on Twitter that I had reached out to get some intel on Brett. And
some recon.
Yeah, some recon. But Brett was like, I'm going to the combine, and we had gotten credentials for the combine. We were so stoked. You were going, Aaron was going, and you had said you wanted to offer more to the company, possibly as an owner.
I was going to the combine regardless because I work with NFL players, and I had a couple players who were getting drafted that year who were going to be at the combine.
Was that Alex Highsmith's?
No, this is 𝗙𝗢𝗥𝗘𝗧𝗨𝗕𝗘. This is 𝗙𝗢𝗙𝗘𝗧𝗨𝗕𝗘, who's now with the Indianapolis Colts. And so I was going to the combine anyway. And I remember I said to you guys, look, I'm going to the combine with or without Pro Football Network because I have guys there. And I was like, but I'm gonna go. I would love to do what I can to help out PFN. When I got to Indianapolis is when I meet you for the first time, Sutton, right? You tell me where the hotel room is. I come and meet you, and I'm like, all right, this is what I have going on. I'm meeting with David Cantor, who's an agent in the NFL. I'm meeting with this, that. I said I can get us exclusive interviews with 𝗙𝗢𝗥𝗘𝗧𝗨𝗕𝗘 and LJ Collier at the time, and some of these other guys. I was like, would that be useful? Sutton and I feel like hit it off right away in Indy. And we were talking about the direction of the company. We were talking about how I remember saying to you, like, I think with my connections in NFL circles, my ability to I can add some legitimacy to this, to take it from a fan-driven site, a fan-driven company, to a company that really deals in real information, real analysis, and so on. And you were obviously intrigued by that. And I remember you telling me, there's a little bit of slack that's not being picked up, and we could use some of that pickup. And we had a great time, and it went to St. Elmo's, fell in love with St. Elmo's. It's still my favorite steakhouse to go to. But then I remember leaving, I go home. I'm pretty sure you ended up telling Matt, I'm sure Matt probably said to you beforehand,
he was texting
I made
me.
it back to that hotel, okay? I didn't walk across any bridges.
You did. Well, I mean, Indianapolis is, it's a great city, so there's no need to leave, as you tried to leave Ohio for obvious reasons. That was your subconscious.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm pretty sure Matt had said to you, like, Brett's going to be there. What's the deal with this guy?
Yeah, vet him.
No, and Aaron said, obviously great things. And my whole thing at the time was because we were not paying anybody, and I was like driving people hard because I wanted to build this thing up. And I'm like, the only way we're going to do it is by outworking everyone else. It's like, I have to get people in the ownership group and give them like sweat equity rather than being able to pay someone. So if I get them in the ownership group, they're going to be much more invested into the company and not going to leave me. Whereas if someone writing for free, doing this for free, can just leave whenever they want to. And so that's part of the reason why we brought you in. We're like, this guy's valuable to us. We can give him part of the company as sweat equity and just make sure he stays with us. Mm-hmm. And so, you said everything great about him, and this guy can be good for us.
That first night, I'm sitting there like, what's a mirror technique? And of course he gets off the bed and shows me exactly what a mirror technique is. And his delivery was, he just knows football. And then seeing him in an interview setting was something else. I mean, just the composure was there. It was effortless. You're getting these prospects to open up. You're like right in the front, and people are like moving away from you because you just have this
NFL career.
You just had this vibe.
I did tank career that day.
Yeah, good job.
But I think Roto World or something, you interviewed Ed Oliver, and you'd asked him if he'd play linebacker, and he said, yep.
Yes.
And so it got to be where, could Ed Oliver play linebacker?
Right.
And some dude from Houston had quote tweeted that quote, and you said something like, it'd be nice for some credit. 15 minutes later, we were getting tagged with that scoop. And I think that first combine really showed us that, you know, I think we have a chance to do this.
Let me ask you something. Hang on a second. Hang on. Did they do a ton of work on Waddle? Let's put it this way. They think it's not Sewell because they really didn't do a lot of work on him. Did they do a ton of work on Waddle?
All right, so, okay, everyone breathe. Everyone breathe. Let's let the site breathe. If you ain't first, you're last.
Is it the site or is it, because my web just locked. My internet just locked up.
No, it's the site.
For 𝗙𝗢𝗢𝗧𝗨𝗕𝗘. Demo open right now.
All right, I'm done with mine.
And if it gets
Go take a look.
and if it gets really bad, what we can do is move the live grades to a Google Doc with James and Eric and the writers. Did you hit publish yet? That just came up. Ben, somebody, we need to get all the live graders out of the back end and have them go in Google Docs or something. I don't know how hard that's going to be on the fly.
I mean, Hudson's a fifth rounder, but Hudson's 6,300 on site.
Tell them to, if we don't need anyone in the back end, if we could do it through Google Docs, let's do it through Google Docs.
I mean, if they can pull the trade with the, and they told me Sewell's not, they don't think Sewell's going to Cincinnati. Well, it's a matter of can Miami trade up to 2? Miami trade up to 4 to get Pitts.
Cross quickly to Eric and James. You'll see that AJ is adding his introduction for the Titans piece in as well, Eric, into the Google Doc. So he'll do his introduction and his analysis and his grade all in there. If you can copy them into the right place, please.
Yeah, and then like a few weeks later, I said, okay, Brett, we're gonna take you in here, and we're gonna do this. And at that time, we didn't have any stakes because I wanted to figure out what people were doing in the day-to-day to figure out who was getting like what stake of the company and how much they were doing. And so, and then that led to also bringing in Matt Infante, who's another part of our ownership group, Sweat Equity, to help run our content side since you were now doing a different part of the thing. And you know, obviously he's been a tremendous help who can't be here in Cleveland with us.
Infante, Matty Infante, who's currently and still is an owner, him and I came into the ownership group at the same time. He now is really the blood that runs through the veins of this company, right? In terms of keeping everything on track, making sure articles are getting out at the right time. I mean, our roles have grown exponentially, our responsibilities have grown exponentially. What's been really cool is to see how we came together, that really the current group came together that day in that bar. And back then, we just wanted to get articles out without glitches. Now we're getting, how many articles did we pump out last night during the first round of the draft?
We did grades for all 32 teams live, and so 32 right off the bat, so more than 35. But throughout this entire draft week, we've had more than 75 articles being published. Which is insane, yeah.
We're gonna do tens of millions of views in the month of April alone, when back then in Darien we were hoping to get like, did we crack 1,000 page views this month?
Did someone other than our cousins read one of our articles?
Let's celebrate when we got a page view.
It's not a matter of confirmed. They asked me to hold it. They said don't go in it. So I got to word it. So.
Hey, Jeff Schwartz just said he doesn't see Sewell going to Miami either, and he's close with Sewell, so he's got the same info we do.
Yeah, I'll tell you, if Sewell's the pick here, I will be shell-shocked. Pick is in for Miami. Pick is in for Miami.
Waddle's
the pick, there it is.
All right, well, I was half right, cool.
What do you need?
We need to find when Tony said
Timestamp or the rumors or wherever we can.
Yeah, it's in the room. It's either, I want to say it's Monday. I said that they were coming away, they were moving towards Waddle and Smith. Waddle and Penei Sewell, they're moving away from Smith. You also may want to mention that we had said more than a month ago, Miami did not want to take an opt-out player with the early pick, and they moved down because they weren't going to take Chase, and they did not take Sewell.
Hey guys, Chicago's trading with the Giants.
It's a quarterback.
Hey, Chicago is trading up.
Chicago from 20.
Chicago is coming up.
Quarterback?
Yeah, it's got to be. I said in one of those things, I said that Chicago, there was a desperation to come out of the first 2 rounds with a quarterback.
Adam Schefter confirms it is for a quarterback.
Right.
It's gotta be.
So it's either Jones of Jones or
How funny would it be if Fields goes before Jones?
with the 49ers not going with Fields, you got to imagine there's something that either as a performance issue Shanahan didn't like, or there's stuff that they dug up on Fields that they didn't like. Not that anything is maybe necessarily nefarious, but enough where they wanted to go with Trey Lance. But
This is ridiculous.
It is an interesting indictment on Justin Fields that Shanahan didn't want to go with him. That being said, not so much of an indictment that the league still clearly felt Fields was a better choice than Mac Jones, who's still sitting on the board.
Oh, well, of course. That should have never been a question that anybody would ask.
Very true, but for the last month, were tripping over themselves trying to tell us how Mac Jones was a superior player to Justin Fields.
Mac Jones also has at least one DUI in his past, if not two.
Cowboys, Micah Parsons.
Okay, let's go.
That's a great pick.
Slater. They took Slater.
Slater.
I think they could take Minnesota could take Vera Tucker or surprise and take Darisaw.
Jets are trading up.
Ollie Vera Tucker. Let's see what happens. Better yet, I said they were looking to trade up to get an offensive lineman.
Go.
The Patriots are selecting Mac Jones.
No way.
Out.
There it is.
Wait.
What?
Patriots, Mac Jones.
Who's that from?
I was a warehouse supervisor.
You were a warehouse
Yeah, I
supervisor.
went from warehouse supervisor to editor of the Pro Football.
Pick up the loot that hit the bank. Can never change. Still wrote the change. Captain say the pay. This ain't the day. They made me wait. I'm breaking chains. Yeah. Tommy feeling bubbly off the rose. Took a minute, but I got it.